Well, hello everyone! What I will tell you is a dream come true, born from a nightmare. In one of the saddest periods of my life, when I could no longer find meaning in anything and when everything seemed not worth it, I decided to use this feeling to take one of the trips I had always dreamed of. Go by car to Vladivostok. And what's more, in winter, with the, let's call it security, that if something had happened lost in the snow and the cold, well, it wouldn't have made a difference. And so without much preparation I set off, me and my guitar, towards the east, to discover the unknown and in search, in reality, perhaps, of myself. The starting point was Tiraspol in Transnistria, an unrecognized pro-Russian state located between Moldova and Ukraine. It seemed so strange to me, finally, after thinking about this moment for almost my whole life, because yes, people think about family and work. I think about going to Vladivostok by car. Draw your own conclusions about the sanity of the person speaking to you. I was saying it was so strange to actually leave for this trip. And the emotions were really weird. I crossed Moldova, Romania, Bulgaria. I entered Turkey, slept in Istanbul, and the next day I finally started to enter a world that was actually different from the one I'm used to. What has to be to live, grow up, work in a place like this? Up to this point, the tension was so much that I couldn't even listen to the music. Then, at a certain point, I don't know, maybe just the right song at the right time, and I finally made the mental switch that I had to do, that I wanted to do, and say, well, fuck it, let's do this shit. After Turkey, Georgia, with its incredible landscapes and also the visit to a piece of history. 2 days in Tbilisi. Hello. English? Ruski? Если я евро, ты можешь And then, finally, the most important border crossing, the one in Russia. I left early in the morning and took the mountain pass where the border between the two countries is, and without any major problems, I entered. I have entered Russia. Excited? A lot. Happy? Extremely. Tense? You have no idea. Also because just to stay on topic, the first destination was Grozny, so the capital of Chechnya.
In Grozny.
In theory, it was supposed to be a very dangerous place. In reality, a place where all the people I dealt with were extremely kind and helpful. A modern city, and I must say, beautiful. The next day, driving day. Destination, Volgograd. A day spent driving, in which I discovered what I call the nothingness of Russia, in the sense that for kilometers and kilometers there is really nothing, absolute zero, and you can feel it, especially at night. Volgograd may not tell you much, but you surely know its old name, Stalingrad. Walking here means walking in history, and what, in my opinion, the Soviets first and the Russians later did very well. And that I personally would like us to do more in our countries. I am Italian. That is, remembering those who died for their families, for their country. It's impossibly gigantic. After Volgograd, a phase of the journey began, maybe driving. A lot of driving. 12, 13, 15 18 hours a day, often without eating, with temperatures that gradually dropped until they reached -20. What I always found was the infinite kindness of the Russians. In every situation I had people who always gave me a hand. And if I think about the treatment we had towards the Russian people, it disgusts me. These people are good, and if you need help, I know that you will always find someone who will lend you a hand. I have no doubt.
A można bolę холодна или так как
40,
40, да,
42, 40. Туда.
все.
Что там показывают у тебя?
Если я хочу, это дорого.
Ну это объезжатель.
Здесь
Кошку.
или потом?
Ну преображенка, открывай.
Газ, здесь...
Есть там заправки.
Там есть.
Спасибо, большое спасибо.
And after grinding out kilometers, I finally found myself in Siberia. Magical Siberia. Every sunset was the most beautiful I have ever seen. Every day, like everything.
It's in the middle of nowhere. Oh my god, before the car.
On the day, or rather the night number 22 of my trip, I arrived in Irkutsk, one of the mythical cities of Russia that I absolutely wanted to visit. But with all due respect to Irkutsk, the thing that intrigued me the most was the lake that is near Irkutsk, the Baikal Lake. Gentlemen, Lake Baikal is indescribable. I can't do it, or rather, I don't want to do it. I hope the images will do at least a little justice. For the rest, every word would be useless.
Infinite white.
After finishing the visit to this pearl of the world, I continued my journey, and from here it started to be decidedly wilder. Between Ulan-Ude and Chita, I found myself at night on a dirt road, alone, with the conviction that if something actually happened here, it would be serious trouble. But luckily, everything went smoothly. The next day, I started the Amur Highway, a 4,000-kilometer stretch without any big cities. It was completed less than 20 years ago and has always been the most complex part of the road to Vladivostok. I must say that given the places and temperatures here, the engineers and the Russian government have done a spectacular job. A road that is practically always in excellent condition, and just thinking about how they built it here, how they bought the materials, how they worked, I think it's one of the most incredible highways on earth. Two are the most interesting places I have seen along this road. The first, Blagoveshchensk, a very particular town because it has a Chinese city in front of it. Beautiful, but cold. Very, very cold. The second, Birobidzhan, the capital of the Jewish Autonomous Oblast, the only other Jewish territory in the world besides Israel. It was a project to give the Jews their own territory, but the territory is located in an area that would be too generous to call desolate, so the Jews who came, little by little, left. And today they represent only 2% of the population, but despite this, it is certainly a fascinating place. From Birobidzhan to Khabarovsk there are 200 kilometers, and so, shortly after that day, I was in my penultimate destination. Surprisingly, Khabarovsk has more inhabitants than Vladivostok, and it also has an interesting history since for decades it was the most important city in eastern Russia, as Vladivostok, as the base of the Pacific Fleet of the Red Army, was a closed city, which means, and I use the present tense because closed cities still exist today in Russia, that only people who live there, work there, or who have a valid, very valid reason to go can enter. Khabarovsk, on the other hand, has always been open, and therefore had more human and cultural exchanges for a longer time. When an important day arrives, what feelings do you have? Are you happy? Are you nervous? Are you scared? Hell, I was everything. Packing things in the car and leaving for the last leg. 31 days after leaving, it was the day. I would even say that I enjoyed the Ussuri highway, which is the highway that connects Khabarovsk and Vladivostok. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I wanted to arrive. Damn, I wanted to arrive right away. But at the same time I never wanted to. When you reach a goal that you have been waiting for so long, happiness mixes with a, let's say, melancholy, in the sense that things stops existing, stops being a dream, a goal. I would even say a part of who you are, and becomes a memory.
Vladivostok! I made it! Since I don't know, since I remember having memories, I wanted to do my car from my home to Vladivostok.
And memories, as someone said, are pages that one has already written, and that at most one can try to relive them when one goes to read them. And instead, I want to write. I don't cry much, but I left a few tears under the Vladivostok sign. And I'm happy that what started with tears of sadness ended with tears of joy. And you don't have to go to Vladivostok, even if I recommend it, but if you feel bad, use that strength to do what you want, without the limit that society and the people who hurt you put on you, and enjoy the journey. And after the journey, well, more problems and doubts, obviously, but isn't this the whole point? To have joy and sadness, and to try to truly live. In the end, there is only one life.
It's not worth to stay sad and stay bad. Do what makes you happy and don't give a fuck about people, the world, the money. We only have one chance. Let's enjoy it. Doing what we like.